Welcome to the White Lotus channel. Thanks for being here. Deck review. Exoticos. Dredge. So it's your pretty standard build. Standard Golgari build. Trying to utilize Lotless Giant and Dread Return by filling up creatures in the graveyard and casting Dread Return to return Lotless Giant to the battlefield, doing X damage for each creature that's in the graveyard. This is not a one-land spy deck. This is more of a kind of a mid-range, longer-range game plan. It takes a while to fill up the graveyard, unlike one-land spy. The better part of it is it's not just a one trick, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can win a standard game by just playing this deck. Getting Troll out, Generous Sent out, slowly grinding them away, maintaining your life total through Gnaw to the Bone, Mired Triton. So I would say the way I've approached the deck so far is to be patient and just let things come to you. Watch what your opponent's doing, knowing the decks that they're playing, and when you really have to kind of get things go, but just develop the plan going forward and you'll be fine. Let's look at the curve. I'd say that the minimum game threshold for the deck is 4. So you're trying to get to 4 mana. Even though you're running 17 lands, you've got 6 ways to fetch. So we can run a lower land count. We do have 2 lands that produce red mana. That's mainly to get Scrapwork Mutt if you have to unearth it. One thing to keep in mind, or I don't want to call it a trick, but something to keep in mind. If you have Scrapwork Mutt and Stinkweed Imp in hand at the same time, when you cast Scrapwork Mutt and you discard Stinkweed Imp, when you go to draw the card off of Scrapwork Mutt, you can return Stinkweed from the graveyard to your hand and use Stinkweed's Dredge ability to put more cards into the graveyard. Acorn Harvest is in the deck. It's just you're going to look at it for either chump blocking, but mainly to create some squirrel tokens to use the flashback off Dread Return. As far as removal goes, I would call it conditional removal. You've got 4 Mired Tritons that have Death Touch. You have 4 Stinkweed Imps that have Death Touch. You have 3 Writhing Mechromats that has Death Touch. Gnaw to the Bone is a really important card in the deck. It's what allows you to be patient. I mean, you can gain a lot of life off of it. So because of that, just be as patient as you can. Develop your board, fill up your graveyard, and then use Dread Return or Lotless Giant. And you'll see some of the interactions in the gameplay, which I think is pretty good. Sideboard, I did change a couple of things. Exotico had 2 Gleeful Sabotage in the side. Personally, I think I like Ancient Grudge better because you are milling a lot of cards. So to get if you mill your Gleeful Sabotage, there's nothing you can do about that. But Ancient Grudge does give you a flashback cost. There wasn't 1 Unexpected Fangs in the side, which I cut for 1 more Gnaw to the Bone, again, for its flashback ability. Anything like in the sideboard, in the event that you mill it, you still want to get some value out of it, which is why we have Chainer's Edict over Diabolic Edict. If you mill it, it's kind of hard to get to 7 mana in this game sometimes. It can happen, but usually, if it's there and you need to get value, you still have it. So it's a really fun deck to play. Again, I would look at it as more of a mid-rangey thing that tries to get the Lotless Dread Return going, but it's not doing it in super fast like one land spy. It's just patient approach, and then you get there. I think there's some flex spots here, to be honest with you. He's got 2 Hunt for Specimens, which can return the 1 of Pest Summoning. That's a potential cut. It's fine right now. I've not had any issues with it. It's possible that 2 Hunt for Specimens become 4 Blanchwood Prowlers, or maybe Hunt for Specimens is the green card. What is it? 1 single green mana. Let me find it real quick. It is, what's the name of it? It is Seed of Hope. That's a possibility for inclusion. I did not touch the main deck at all. I only changed a couple cards out of the side. But we'll run some games and you can see it play out. Match 1, Game 1, unknown opponent. Opening hand. Certainly not keepable. There's Tranquil Thicket. Another thing I'll point out too, if Stinkweed Imp or any of the cycling cards, not the land cyclers, but like Tranquil Thicket, if Stinkweed Imp is in the graveyard and you cycle Tranquil Thicket, I cannot speak, you can return the Stinkweed Imp and put more cards in the graveyard, so keep that in mind. But we're going to mulligan that. This hand is fine. It's a little slow. We've got Scrapwork Mutt, but we'll keep this. We've got some plays. We've got some lands. We can continue to search for lands and build it up. So we'll see what we're up against. Certainly glad they played Bojuka Bog now and not later. But seeing, yeah, there's going to be more than one Bojuka Bog playing Mono Black Devotion. That's frustrating. But the thing is, we talked about knowing that what you're up against. Mono Black Devotion is not a fast deck, so you have time to operate. So there's really no reason to panic. I put Lotleth Giant in the graveyard, obviously. Would prefer to do that when I have Dread Return in hand, or else I would have pitched Stinkweed Imp. Our land base is getting murked. 2 cards in the opponent's hand. Sure, losing some tempo on our side. It would have been great to have a land cycler. We could have pitched that, but missed a land drop. There's no reason for us to rush at this moment. Crawling Infestation, didn't really talk about that in the commentary. It's a slow card. It's not great. It does fit the deck for what it's trying to do. But it's just very slow, very grindy. I wouldn't put it in a TorTex type deck. I don't think that fits. But in this deck, because it doesn't even fit in One Land Spy, obviously. But in this type of deck, where it's a little slower, a little grindier, you're trying to get more inevitability than anything else, it's a good card. The opponent is going to town on our land base, but we're hanging in there. Getting down to 10, and we're still not under that much threat, damage-wise, by the opponent. So, again, no reason to panic. We've got Dread Return in the graveyard. We've got, we do have a Lotleth Giant. And I was being really patient, and apparently a little too patient. We could have gotten some value out of that. It's really important. I'm going to try to emphasize, you don't have to wait until you have all the damage necessary to use Lotleth Giant. When it's necessary to use it, or when it's effective to do so, go ahead and use it. Sometimes you'll use it multiple times in a single game. But it's interesting to see, okay, are we going to be able to win the game when we just lost about 27 cards? So Gnaw to the Bone will help that and restabilize. Again, highly emphasize. Sometimes I think maybe one of the Hunt for Specimens should be the third Gnaw to the Bone. It's that important. It's fine. Opponent still has to win the game, so, and I think we can do that faster than they can. Writhing Necromask getting in. We only need to do 6 with Lotleth Giant. But how many creatures do we have in the graveyard? 1. No, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we could have sacked Necromaster. No, we didn't have 3 creatures. So we can still get there. Get some life back, buy us some time. We have to get 3 creatures on the board for Dread Return to work. That's going to be hard with the witches. If you have the Acorn card, right? Yeah, that we looked at in the beginning. You can flash back the Acorn, which gives you 2, and then you can play 1 more creature, or you can get 3 tokens off the Infestation and the Acorn, as we did here. So we flashed back Acorn Harvest, got the token off Crawling Infestation, which gave us 3 creatures, and we were able to bring Dread Return to Lotleth Giant and win the game. Let's go see the next opponent. Match 1, Game 1 against Perny Sanders. Don't know what he's playing. I know Perny, but not personally, just from a Discord group. Not sure what deck he's playing, though. It's a great hand for us. Turn 2, Satyr Wayfinder. I don't think we're on the mirror match. It's either a TorTex build or just a green-black graveyard dredge type based thing. So those decks typically don't win quickly, so we can be patient. He does have a Thorn of the Black Rose in the graveyard, a Mire Triton, a Fume Spitter, so we're not on the same deck, but a similar strategy. I'm trying to fill the graveyard up with creatures. There's a Knot of the Bone in there. Satyr Wayfinder's not doing me much help on the battlefield unless we have to flashback Dread Return. But with Crawling Infestation and Scrapwork Mutt, TorTex builds don't run very much removal, if any. So we're completely fine operating like this. And really, we just have all the time in the world. We're just not under pressure, which is great. Anytime you find yourself in that kind of situation, you can just slow it down and maximize value without pressing. We have a Stinkweed Imp and a Lotleth Giant in the graveyard. Bring back Stinkweed, play Scrapwork, discard Stinkweed, return Stinkweed off the draw, cycle Tranquil Thicket, and we have filled up the graveyard. It's quite the turn, mainly for something like Knot of the Bone or something like that. It was very easy to fill up or put as many cards in the graveyard as possible. I'm not sure why that is stalled. I've noticed on the replays that flashback, sometimes MTGO will get hung. But we're in great shape here. As you can see, it just stalled again on the flashback. Something in the coding. I certainly will apologize for any delays on Moto. More cards in the graveyard. So that's just using, that play there is using Lotleth Troll twice on the same turn. So we hard cast Dread Return from the hand, returning Lotleth Giant. Dread Return is back into the graveyard. We still have creatures to sack, so we can do all the damage like that. The deck is pretty fun. I enjoy it. It's just another green-black build with its take on it. I think there are some spots that could be moved around. The deck is fine as it is, but there is some room to kind of play around with it. But I hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. Stay safe. Be well.